Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. It's always good to be in this chair. I miss you when I'm not here. I won't say or recite any poetry, and I certainly will always endeavor to be the very best. I'm honored once again to sit across the table from Dr. Alexandra Bott and Dr. Chelsea Walton as we have a monthly Mental Health Matters. You want to know what we're going to be talking about? Let's talk about it. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. And let us remind you the number. I want to say again a special thanks to OC for filling in that day and for our very own Kathy Miller. Her and a fantastic team in her sales department, her Rain and Anita in particular, do a phenomenal job. So whenever they fill in, as Kathy did, I want to say a special thanks. Well, it is our monthly Mental Health Matters. Honored once again to have that, just growing partnership with Dr. Alexandra Bott. And she's, as usual, brought along a phenomenal talent, and this time in the presence of Dr. Chelsea Walton. So ladies, thank you very much, not just for what you do, but for being here, being now, and in particular in this time in human history where there are things that are happening that for us seemed almost impossible. Perhaps history repeats itself. Perhaps there's nothing new under the sun. It's just new to us. Right, Dr. Borden? How are you, ma'am?
Okay. No, thank you very much for having us on today. I know recently there was an awareness month that supports perinatal mental health, which Dr. Walton was coaching me on the correct terms. But I know I've shared on here as well, as I was on that leave from the show in January. There's so many changes that everyone goes through from from considering getting pregnant, trying to get pregnant, going through the pregnancy, having the baby. I know I thought labor was going to be the scariest thing ever. My child's now 2.5. There's new challenges. There's much bigger ones after labor, to adjusting to the new life, especially as you add in other children as well. So Dr. Chelsea Walton's recently done qualifications in this area, so I'm thrilled to have her on today. Also a Caymanian psychologist, so excited to have her back. So I have asked her as well. I know that my students always hear me drone on about schooling and how important it is, and it can seem so insurmountable. And I'm one example, and I know I champion a lot of things, but she's living proof others can do it as well. And I'm so proud to have her on the show today to discuss this very important topic. And, and it's huge changes biologically, yes, for the female, but there's a lot that goes on with everyone around them. That's their support network as well.
It's an important topic, and I join you, and I commend you for allowing us to be able to, if Dr. Walton doesn't mind, not just to highlight and celebrate you, but through you, encourage and inspire the rest of us with the greatest respect to any other nationality, any other jurisdiction. There's 500 Caymanians left, 499 of my cousins, right? and the relatively small number of the population, even if we were to consider the Cayman Islands at 100,000, just make it easier, still a relatively small number to the 10 billion that is in this world. And the bigots and the morons like Bill Gates and the rest of them, they make world hard, right? Because they control so much. And I say that consciously sometimes because we don't realize how important the quote-unquote the small man is. That person whose life is meaningful, who is impacted by everything, who has little or no say. And can you imagine that person, right? Whether it's the two partners or just a single person who just gave birth, who has to now navigate this life and this new addition with all of the hopes and expectations and all the trials and tribulations, all the challenges and opportunities. And how can we draw alongside when some seem to have so much and no conscience, some who have so little and yet so much promise? And maybe if we have dialogue, maybe we'll see a sense of humility and respect and love and honesty and integrity, the values and virtues that our parents instilled in us. So as I was thinking about today's discussion, it's not just about the biological, the psychological, but the societal implications. How do we help that young mother to say, and yes, fathers too, hey, you know what? This has happened many times before. God's will, it happened many times again. But how do we help you now? And I think Vijay said it best once when we talk about, sacrificing for the future. Very important. Our parents instilled in us, make provision, save for a rainy day. But if you don't have it now, if you don't know where your next meal is, if you haven't eaten in days, whether you're the starving parent or that, sort of aspiring artist, how can you think about tomorrow if you don't know what today is like? So, Dr. Walton?
Solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I have just one question for you. How do we solve the world's problems? and I say that, and some of me thought my comment about, Bill Goat being inflammatory, and no apology. If you have, you do. If you have resource, you can't take it to the grave. And your legacy isn't about the statue, the knighthood, or whatever, the nonsense. It's about love. It's about helping that person, help that young child navigate a life that is so, Yeah.
Well, because I think politics is always a big part of everyone's life, but I think becoming a parent is that makes it even more difficult because you are now completely in control of, at least for a little while, that one person's life and someone completely relying on you. It's a huge transition, and and you are greatly influenced by everything going on around you.
Yes. Look. I've been doing some interesting readings over the break. That's how I spend my time. People like, don't you have a life? That is life. You learn. And you look at that young person, at that newborn that may be just a few hours old, and it's yours, right? And you're holding and you're loving. And then you look at maybe your aged parents or grandparents, and you see so many similarities. Bob Marley say, once a man, twice a child, right? The dependency, the longing for love and safety. It's no different, huh? Just a thought.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities there with that. But I think, with going back to kind of what you were mentioning about kind of just the great transition the political aspect, the economic stress, having to looking at your newborn baby and realizing like, oh, I am responsible for keeping you alive now and making sure that you do well and you have everything that you need and you flourish, right? There comes a great mental load and emotional load with that, right? And at the same time as if you're a first-time parent or, you have previous children, right? There's that transition, right? Like this evolution of ourselves as well that we have to be able to kind of keep in mind, right? That we're also changing in the midst of this, bringing someone else into our family. So that can be really stressful and really overwhelming. And a lot of times new parents don't know, am I doing it right? Or there's so many worries and concerns and emotion.
And opinions.
Unsolicited advice.
And they're so-called experts.
Yeah. And a lot of times people are well-meaning. They're, they have... Sure. Yeah, sometimes. A lot of times they'll be well-meaning, but just, sometimes it's not always relevant to your unique circumstances. And you have your own individual family and your own needs, and like you have to figure out kind of what works within the context of your family unit.
And it's perhaps a discussion, if I'll be guided by you, because I think the one thing that we should all aspire to do is to learn. A new recipe that you're trying to perfect, a new football, kick, learn so that you can impart your knowledge. So, but let's go beyond nature and nurture, that old age discussion, and maybe look at some of the biological and environmental, but also some of the things that maybe almost come in full circle. Look at how our grandparents had, in our minds, these old wives sort of approaches to certain things. You don't take the newborn out until X weeks. You don't go to the draft. Maybe it's so hot these days, there's no draft. But, but there's probably ancestral knowledge that they acquired that made sense. And now we, in our infinite wisdom, we know best. Perhaps not. But there is a benefit, Dr. Walton, to having research, to having empirical evidence, to having a body of people.
And I think that's the biggest place where having support can be helpful, right. Because even like me, our family has a lot of different cultural influences as well, and it is hard to pick for yourself what you're going to do, and then because then you have to navigate those relationships of why you've chosen to do something differently than this person says or this person says or this country does. And that can be difficult because there's like obviously the huge changes, and many women feel very overwhelmed afterwards. I think about 80% of women will experience, they call it the baby blues afterwards, from all the hormonal changes that happen immediately after birth. And some will go on to clinical postpartum depression, anxiety, or even the psychosis. But that's where I think having support for understanding and normalizing those parts can be helpful, but also just support navigating the changes in in yourself, your identity, but the relationships as well. I think that can be one of the hardest parts.
Yeah, I would agree. Like the dynamic in the relationship, even between parents, right, can be so greatly impacted by now having, another person that you are having to make decisions for, and you have to find a way to kind of integrate your individual values and figure out what's best for your child, right? So, that can be particularly stressful, and it's helpful to. So having the access to evidence-based research is a blessing, but then it's being able to kind of access, being able to discern, what's credible and what's not. Like we live in an era where there is just more access to information than ever before. And so just making sure that we're getting information from credible sources, and then, that doesn't always kind of align with, what, maybe grandparents or parents think about, what we should be doing. And so, that brings another issue of kind of navigating then those relationships. But ultimately, I guess it really comes down to how are you can finding ways to compromise in certain areas, but ultimately doing kind of what you feel is best for your child, because this is your child and your responsibility, and you're responsible for their well-being, right? So, and it's not one size fit all.
I think as a listener, as you go into the break, I'm inclined to you reflect on two things. The whole notion, trust but verify. Yes, this data may be good generally. It may be more perhaps relevant to a specific area and practice and culture and the like. But how does that translate into your environment? But secondly, take the sea captain who's into a new port. Very skilled, very experienced, but isn't local knowledge, isn't a harbor master someone that he should draw on. Yeah, he knows his ship, he knows how to, take it to sea, but as he comes through, where the shallow shoals, where the things. So that isn't, something that we should ignore. As we return from the break, talk to us more, because the notion of postpartum, perhaps in and of itself, is something that we don't even want to discuss. Maybe, and I say this with the greatest respect, don't appreciate that it may extend for a long period of time. Does it last as a defined period? Could the children be, adults now when the mother's still affected? But I don't know. Questions that perhaps you can help us. And then what about those very early years, those first few days and weeks when you're still trying to figure out, whoa, what's this in my hand? All right. Those are things we can discuss?
Yeah.
All right.
That's great.
It's our monthly Mental Health Matters show. I don't have on my gloves, but I have on a smile. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
How can you make a classic BLT sandwich even better? Well, by adding tuna. The land meets the sea in Subway's new sandwich, the Tuna BLT, available for a limited time. The Tuna BLT is exploding with flavor. Imagine crispy, juicy bacon strips on top of tuna, fresh lettuce, and slices of tomato, topped with your favorite sauce and choice of freshly baked bread. Enjoy the best of both worlds with the Tuna BLT from Subway. Subway, eat fresh.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Dr. Alexandra Wood and Dr. Chelsea Walton for joining us. And when it comes on a personal level, when it comes to people, their well-being, the safety, the security, the nurturing, the care, the concern, the compassion that we should have when it comes to, neglect and abuse of power, and what on a personal level, again, just me, when I see people in authority who abuse that position, he who wields the gun or the goal believes he wields the power. Not always, right? But more than that, the level of arrogance and insolence sometimes that we exhibit without even having a second thought. And I say that here's this young family, challenged by everything, and we've all been there in some way. We feel overwhelmed, but yet we're excited, or we are so concerned for this young life and this well-being. But then we're like, you know what? Wow, this person could grow up and, conquer the moon, for argument's sake. And all these things are happening at the same time. Dr. Walton, that must be, for that mother in particular, must be a lot happening within the body, I guess biologically, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, biologically, there are a lot of changes, right? A lot of fluctuations with hormones. And I think as well, like just depending on, I guess how pregnancy was, how labor was, the impact of that on mom's, physiological state and emotional and mental state as well, right? There are just all of these different aspects of the experience that can overlap, right? And so, going back to your question,
yeah. And as I listen, I'm thinking, let's look at different societies, maybe the global north versus the global south, the developed world versus, and perhaps our perceptions, some quote-unquote primitive society, she's due to have a child, she's in the field, child is born, and they're back to work. That notion that is romanticized in movies or however. And then there's this one over here who's coddled. Doctor says, you need bed rest, whatever. The different approaches, but that physical and mental well-being of the mother, and how it, how that could impact the child's not just survival and success, but the child's very sort of approach to life,
approaching their development, right, and their health, right. And so I think when it comes to, because the child's health is really highly dependent on health of the mother, health of the parents, right? And so parents need a lot of support, a lot of social support, navigating that transition, right, into parenthood. So, and that can look like, the professional support from doctors and nurses and midwives and doulas, therapists, but also, family and friends. And so I think then, there's parents at a major disadvantage when they don't have access to those resources, right? There might be a lot of interpersonal stress and dysfunction, right, in their personal life, or maybe they don't have the funds to, access quality health care, right? So that puts parents at risk for developing postpartum depression, anxiety, OCD, psychosis, just that increased stress. The social support is a major buffer for stress, right? And so with the postpartum mental illness, then that makes it a lot more difficult for parents to be attuned and present and responsive to their babies, right? And that affects attachment, which is a big part of infants' mental health, right? Is knowing that, if I cry, that there's going to be a response, that my need is going to be met. But it can be really hard for parents who are battling mental illness to be, present.
As you shared, I'm wondering to what extent, we should appreciate the physical, the financial, even the provision of food, But then, for want of a better word, the support, the psychological well-being of that person. So a couple of questions then. Is it that there's an underlying thing that is perhaps enhanced, quote unquote, made worse because of the experiences of childbirth? Could that be an issue? It's been there, but you just never had, I don't want to use the word traumatic, but I can imagine giving birth, that must be a lot on physical, on the body. It's beautiful. It's great to be a part of everything, but the body going through this thing and this is happening. Wow, that must be, I don't know if traumatic is the right word, but
Oh, it is.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it can be pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
Well, so parents can have a predisposition, a genetic predisposition to mental health issues. You know, if you know, a new mom, her mother had postpartum or perinatal depression, then that she's at an increased risk for developing it, right? Or if she, prior to pregnancy, you know, had mental illness or struggled with her mental health, depression, anxiety, whatnot, that can be exacerbated by the process of pregnancy, delivery, and caring for a newborn. And then there are a lot of changes. So just, you know, that's the sleep deprivation that comes with having a newborn. Sleep it's so important. It's a foundational aspect of our self-care, but just even not being able to have adequate rest and sleep can be a trigger for mental illness in the postpartum space.
I guess this is why that support comes in. I mean, I'm told that, you know, the person who is exercising and, you know, eating properly and really trying to get healthy won't see the weight loss, won't see the benefits of that improved lifestyle related to exercise and diet if the person isn't getting adequate sleep. So can you imagine someone who is, you know, has a child constantly and not getting that? We use two phrases, postpartum and baby blues. I always thought they were one and the same. Are they?
They're actually not. So baby blues is a pretty common experience for new mothers. And so the way that you differentiate it is one, the time frame. So baby blues kinds of it pretty much expires 2 weeks after childbirth. And so it's caused by the hormone fluctuations, is that acute sleep deprivation, and it can look like, you know, a lot of mood swings, tearfulness, but mom will tend to kind of bounce back with rest or, you know, spending time doing, you know, something that she enjoys or engagement with people that, you know, she cares about, having that social support. But with postpartum depression, if baby blues extends beyond 2 weeks, then it's going into the clinical depression space. And it looks a bit different in the way that mom isn't as responsive to rest or, you know, may be apathetic towards things that she usually enjoys or cares about, and may have difficulty bonding with baby, as well as a lot of like negative thoughts about her role in motherhood, how she's doing, her experience, her connection to her baby.
Now with that, postpartum can last, I mean, forever? Is it like the baby blues 2 weeks, then beyond that is the postpartum from two perspectives? How long can it last? And is it something that may come on years later, or is it days and weeks and months later before you see the onset?
So the postpartum period is considered to be between childbirth to that first year to 2 years, 2 years following childbirth. And so there tends to be a increase around that 1 year post-childbirth mark. I think due to just the increase in demands again at that period. And so the onset can be gradual, or it could be a more acute onset. It might not necessarily be present, you know, at childbirth. It's something that could come on later on. But, you know, if it's been 10, 15 years since, you know, becoming a parent is likely attributed to something else. It wouldn't fall within postpartum depression.
And I'm wondering to what extent we, you know, as society, but the mother in particular, would recognize it. And from what I'm hearing, she may be questioning her adequacy as a mother. You know, we've all had, you know, goldfish or some other pet, and we want to nurture it. But another life, another human life, must be even a greater sense of responsibility. That must be heavily, or can. With that, and as we look at it, are there particular, I'm mindful not to say symptoms, but things that we should look for? And if symptoms are not the right word, substitute one for me. You know, you think you're coming down with a flu, you've got a stuffy, nose, and you're coughing, you run eyes, and your throat. You may say something's happening, but with postpartum, are there particular things that may sort of indicate?
Yeah, so symptoms is a fine word to use, to describe it. But things such as like in comparison to baby blues, but more stable mood, a more stable kind of low mood, or irritability, can sometimes look at as like rage as well. Listening out for mom or dad, even saying things like, they don't feel like they're a good parent, or their child might be better off without them, things like that. Any kind of suicidal thoughts or ideations, low energy, low fatigue, right? Energy that doesn't restore when, mom or dad has had an opportunity to rest. Those are some of the things that we'd want to look out for. Lack of kind of interest or connection with baby as well is another key symptom. And
perhaps even maybe either reduced interest in reading, watching TV, whatever the things you're eating, or
enjoyable activities,
or even withdrawing from those things. Wow, they sound... I know we're mindful not to use the word, all of us would say, feeling depressed. So you've cautioned us not to use that from the clinical perspective, but it sounds kind of like symptoms of being depressed.
Wow. It's depression.
It is depression.
Yeah, it's depression.
Okay.
It's kind of like a different flavor of depression, right? Because it's related to pregnancy and childbirth and the time following that and that transition into parenthood. But it's technically depression.
Yeah. And I really want to be not just sensible and sensitive, but I want to make sure that I understand, and hopefully through our discussion and me asking and inquiring, that those listening would be respectful. There's that mother there who may be feeling this. What can we do to help her not to feel alone, and this not to be perhaps embarrassed or ashamed of this thing, not to, or actually to appreciate that this happens to people and there's help. So what can we do as the parents of that child, the partners, maybe the siblings, maybe even the older children? I don't know, is there anything that we can do to not make it any worse? If, ice cream and peanut butter might help, but I don't know. What is there anything we can do?
Educating yourselves can definitely be helpful to understand what mom is going through. I think it's a huge transition, and it's a lot of demands on everyone. And so I know some of the scarier symptoms that I know, it's not my area of specialty, but I have worked with some women with these before that Dr. Walton touched on, the disconnect, the detachment from the baby. I've had women that have had urges to hurt the child. There's a lot of things that can come up with it. A lot of us think that once we have the baby, everything will be fine. And everyone says, once the baby's in your arms, you're going to love it and it's going to be great. I've met a lot of women that didn't happen. For whatever reason, the child wasn't planned, or they wanted the child, but the connection just wasn't there, or there was a history of difficulties before that made it hard to connect. The child had a very difficult temperament that made, especially the colicky children that never settle, can be extremely trying in many ways on whoever the caregiver is looking after them. So, but knowing that can be a part of the clinical picture can be helpful, that you're not crazy, you're not a bad person. That can be a sign of one of these postpartum illnesses. Can be really helpful to know, and do get help. There is help available.
Right.
I was telling Dr. Walton, I was really proud my OB-GYN actually screened for it, and that I was stressed after having the baby, especially the second one, and asked, has there been any urges to hurt the child or any feelings like that? And I was really proud of him, because I know, training psychologist, I know that those are difficult questions to ask, for a therapist, and we deal primarily with emotion. So I was really proud of him for doing that. But that is a fact, that's what some women go through, and to know that these things can happen, certain amount, and even the anxiety as well. Then watching the child breathe to make sure, especially when they sleep for more than an hour.
Oh my God!
When you want to be sleeping, you're up watching to make sure that
you get the mirror, you put it in the nose just to make sure.
Right.
No, I haven't done that.
To educate yourselves on what's normal and to be expected versus what needs more help. And even if you're not in the clinical range, it's still okay to get help too.
Right.
And if you're the supporting parent as well, I know that a lot of times, I think you and I have discussed this before, actually, the fathers don't know what to do. And I've had, I've had friends where the fathers aren't allowed in with the C-section, or, something goes wrong and the baby and mom get whisked away. And, it can be hard for them not being able to be there and not knowing what to do.
Yeah, so maybe that's part of the society.
A lot of stress on everyone. So knowing what to expect and where to get help as well. And that help looks differently for everyone.
Is it then, I want to be mindful, but because you used the word attachment earlier, and I keep telling people little learning is a dangerous thing, right?
We always talk about attachment, how important it is.
So I wonder if that mother did, or the relationship that mother may have had with her mother or her parents or her primary caregiver, whatever today's word is, I wonder how that could potentially, and even consciously, unconsciously, or unconsciously conscious, impact that new mother and that child. Dr. Walter? Hard questions to Dr. Walter.
So, yeah, there is a big connection, right? That shapes a lot of that attachment that we form with our parents, shapes a lot of the way that we interact and engage with other individuals, right? And so that can also translate into our relationship with our children, because that's something that we kind of then just kind of internalize, right? And so we also can just pick up on how, parenting has been modeled for us, right? And we can apply that, but in a way with certain practices that can then disrupt attachment between parent and child. So attachment, definitely has a major impact on us, and then the way our parents related to us, and then the way that we relate to others and our children.
We are having our monthly mental health matters. We're talking, perinatal mental health, right? Dr. Chelsea Walton, Dr. Alexandra Borden. A number of questions have come in, and we're talking about postpartum, and we're going to ask about, can fathers be affected? But a couple of questions from our listeners, treatments, if any, what are they? Can single fathers have challenges like this that we're talking? So good time to sort of, thank our listeners for weighing in and sharing their thoughts. But fathers, single fathers, or fathers in general, is it just a mother? Talk to me. Help me to understand.
No, definitely not. Fathers can be impacted as well. I think a lot of the conversation centers around the mother, because she tends to be the most directly impacted, right? And has to go through a lot of the physiological changes that dad might not necessarily have to. But fathers can be impacted by postpartum mental illness. That's something that's not widely known, or there might not be as much research in that area. It's definitely kind of in its infancy, but we are understanding more and more that dads are susceptible to postpartum OCD and postpartum depression, and mom's mental health. Mom having postpartum depression is actually a predictor of dad developing postpartum depression. So there's even like a strong relationship and connection between mother's mental status in the postpartum period to dad's.
And I'll be guided by you, and again, I'm just a regular guy, right? But I look at men, generally speaking, sort of guide me that it's not improperly placed, but we're fixers and doers, That's probably how we're wired for the most part. Some women as well, more than others. And there's, your loving wife, mother, your child, and something's happening and you don't know. You just know it's not her. She's not smiling, she's not engaged, she doesn't want her favorite food, whatever the thing is, right? You can't do anything about it. That must impact you as the father and the doting husband and whichever. And then you're feeling this thing. Wow, that's not a healthy recipe.
Yeah, that can be particularly stressful on the father, right? Because a lot of times men tend to be a lot more solution oriented, right? That's kind of how boys and men are socialized. Like, there's a problem, fix it.
Yeah.
But there's not a clear fix for your partner who is going through mental health challenges, right?
Yeah.
Even knowing, what's out there, what can help, what is going on, right? Being able to just understand that, right? That can be so stressful and disorienting for the dad. And then, but dad on his own can also experience those challenges, right? That difficulty bonding and connecting with the baby, not feeling like an adequate parent. There's also the stress of needing to provide and, needing to be the strong one in the relationship. Those are all things, too, that the father may be confronted with.
So mother and father can feel it. Mother can feel it, not a father, but the father can experience it and not the mother as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. See, if you ask questions of experts like our panelists, and I'm hoping that as we go into the break and when we come back from the news, parents are listening. One, they don't feel isolated. They don't feel less than. They don't feel ashamed or embarrassed, and respectfully unwilling to seek help. So when we come back, maybe treatments, maybe assistance, maybe other things we can talk about. Can you also ask about age? I think we referenced it. You referenced something. Is it the first time mother, or is it the mother who has nth child? Different ways it could present. Who's impacted? Is there an age? Is it the birth? I mean, help us to truly appreciate it and understand as much as we can. All right. Perinatal mental health. Part of our monthly Mental Health Matters. Dr. Walton and Dr. Borden are our guests. Please join us after.
No, man. I'm tired of seeing a new charge on my phone bill every month.
You are always complaining about that bill. I think it's time you make that switch to Digicel.
I've been with my network for more than a decade. I don't know if I want to move over now.
Well, better later than never. When you switch to Digicel, you get better speeds, more data, and simply more value. Best of all, no dishonest practices. What they say is what you get. Make that switch today and get 50% off your first 2 months.
50% off my first 2 months? Mary, you're convincing me now. Okay, I'll visit a Digicel store near me.
Experience the bigger, better network. Switch your postpaid number to Digicel for 50% off your first 2 months or get a free 30-day Prime bundle for prepaid customers. Make the switch today. Are you tired of waiting in long lines at the pharmacy just to fill a prescription?
If what, child, let me tell you.
Well, now you can save time and money with ValueMed's online prescription service. Visit ValueMed's new website, valrx.com, and click the Refill Subscriptions button. Fill in your information and choose your preferred pickup location. Or email your prescription refills for ValueMed Walkers Road at rx-wr@valrx.com, and for ValueMed in Bodentown, email rx-bt at valrx.com. Say goodbye to the hassle of waiting in lines and hello to the convenience of online prescriptions with ValueMed Pharmacy. Visit valrx.com to place your orders today.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Kim and Brack and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brack and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Police arrest a man in relation to a Georgetown burglary incident. He has since been formally charged with burglary and is expected to appear in court today. In international news, former U.S. national gymnastics team Dr. Larry Nassar was stabbed multiple times in prison on Sunday during a fight with another inmate, the BBC's U.S. partner CBS News reports. Nassar was sentenced up to 175 years in prison for molesting gymnasts. He is reportedly in hospital in stable condition after the Sunday attack. He suffered a collapsed lung after being stabbed twice in the neck, twice in the back, and 6 times in the chest. A Canadian teenager has been questioned by police in Japan after carving letters on a wooden pillar of an 8th century temple. Police said the 17-year-old boy carved Julian on a pillar at the Toshodaji Kondo Temple complex in Nara, Japan. After the incident, which occurred on July 7th, the boy was questioned on suspicion of violating the Cultural Properties Protection Law. The carving was made on the pillar of the temple's Golden Hall, which is a designated national treasure. The temple is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
The Health Services Authority has over 120 world-class physicians offering the most comprehensive range of specialist services on island. Our dedicated team of professionals provide the highest quality care in orthopedics, interventional radiology, women's health, geriatrics, and a host of other specialist areas. We are a JCI accredited organization with a proven record of excellence. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Captain Maybury Salisbury Kirkconnell, OBE JP, 1931 to 2002. Captain Maybury's career in public service began as a young man when he received medical treatment and would spend his school holidays assisting the local doctor on Cayman Brac. He was one of the pioneers of Cayman Brac Power and Light Company, Faith Hospital, and Kirkconnell Community Care Center. He was a deacon at his church and often served as lay pastor, an opportunity he cherished. He was also a master mariner. Captain Maybury was elected to the Legislative Assembly in 1980 and served for 20 years. In 1996, he was elected Speaker, the second person to hold the post, and the first sitting MLA to be elected to the position. He did not seek re-election in 2000, but later accepted the legislators' unanimous call to return for another term as Speaker. He retired in 2001. Captain Maybury treasured his years in public service and lived by his motto, country before self. Although he and his wife, Marilyn Nee Parchman, had no children, they raised a grandniece, Otelia McKeever Scott, and Captain Maybury helped several Brac young people to obtain a higher education. Captain Maybury, Salisbury, Kirkconnell.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And if you wish to ask a question and you want to do so like one or two have off here, hey, just do that. You can WhatsApp 925-3261. If you have the other number, we'll tell you what that is later. Go ahead. You can also call us and pose your question on air. 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. 949-8037. You can even WhatsApp call. You imagine that? 21st century boy. We getting up there. Best money we can spend. 925-3261. But a discussion on mental health, I think, is important so that it helps us as a society appreciate that we have an incredible resource. The people are competent, they're confidential, and we can have confidence in their ability. It's not just about taking away the stigma. It's about recognizing that you're not alone. And as we talk about, sort of perinatal mental health and the idea of postpartum depression, I always thought baby blues and postpartum was one and the same. And I can't begin to imagine what that parent, now that I understand fathers cannot be affected by it, always thought, well, maybe it was just women. that parent now can be supported. So, Dr. Walton, Dr. Boylan, thanks very much. Well, treatment, recognition of symptoms, support, the age, the onset. I mean, help us to understand as much as possible. And there's a lot of questions, but inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, so there is help and support available. It's just, sorry.
Tell you what, you pull that base there, you just grab that and juck that close stick. There you go. Pull that close stick.
There we go.
Are you comfortable, Mom?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm all good over here.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
I think that it's, well, like what Dr. Bodden said, like the education, the awareness, right, is a big component of it, yes, right? Mom. Being able to actually just even recognize that that support is needed in this area. That's not something that's a character flaw, but that, you know, people can recover from postpartum mental illness and they can be well. It's just having that support. And so there are a number of private providers on island. There are some that are specialized in perinatal mental health as well. And there are, and then there are also resources like the Family Resource Center is a major one that comes to mind, especially for young parents who tend to be a bit more vulnerable, just because of, you know, the stigma, as well as not necessarily having the same amount of resources as maybe a more mature older parent might have. Like the Family Resource Center has really brilliant programs geared towards assisting parents, childbearing families, and babies, right? So I think that's a major resource to access.
Right. And I think this is where we need to appreciate that we have a great resource. For me, what is always so encouraging is when I talk to people from jurisdictions with tens of millions of people, you know, whose country may be part of, you know, the G7, and they say, wow, in Cayman, you know, you have this, this, and this, and we don't have it where they're from. I'm like, really? But we who are here either don't realize it, don't respect it, we downplay it, or worse, we love it to be respected. And so we have that. I mean, as I joined Dr. Borden and commended Dr. Walter, you know, a specialist, you know the people, you've trained, you have the competence. If you were practicing it, you would be celebrated, you would be respected and recognized. So let's borrow from that and let our people appreciate a phone call away. You don't have to be alone. And that must be a daunting feeling sometimes, you know, to believe that, you know, you're the only one who's in the catboat. And you may be, but just up ahead, you know, it isn't a foul wind. There are the catboats who are sailing towards you.
Especially when you're a new parent and up all night. And actually, I turned my cable back on for those nights. No, it can be difficult. But I think having a therapist, especially if you end up with some of the more difficult clinical presentations who understands it, can be really helpful. So that's where having someone who's trained in those areas can be reassuring, but also increase chances of success as well. Right. The medications would be another route as well, which could be discussed either with your OB-GYN, on some of your follow-up appointments, with your GP, or with a psychiatrist. Anyone with a prior mental illness, that would have been a conversation they'd have about staying on medications or not leading up to the pregnancy. Sometimes some medications that you're on would have to be discontinued throughout the pregnancy, but it would be a conversation between the psychiatrist and the client or the patient to discuss the costs and the benefits and the risks of it, because sometimes it is better to have mom be stable through, and especially to that attachment, that the attachment afterwards in that period is so important that sometimes they will opt to stay on medications. Other times they may take a break from medications or switch medications. So you know, if you are on medications, you don't necessarily have to stop it. That would be a conversation to have with the doctor. Likewise, it can be a treatment afterwards. If you're breastfeeding, it's important that the doctor knows that, so they can decide what medications they can do, and then that can maybe even be a part of your decision whether you breastfeed or not, depending on the medication. Medications aren't always necessary. I'd say some of the more difficult clinical presentations, the psychosis, and that probably it's going to be a part of it. But you're going to want someone who understands, and you're able to talk about all of your choices, such as breastfeeding as well. Something that you share, and I'm asking myself, just, you know, and I'll do that loudly.
we talked about the 2 weeks for the baby blues. We talked about postpartum, that year. But I'm thinking of that mother, perhaps that working mother, that professional. She has her education, her aspirations, like everybody else, her dreams. And now maybe the children are grown. Maybe there's something else. But as she reflects on things, maybe she wasn't diagnosed properly. Maybe she wasn't making time for herself to look after her well-being. And down the road, these things have now come to a space where her mental health and wellness is being affected. It may not be clinically, postpartum, but it could be depression. It could be something that is affecting her. What do we do for her? Anything? I mean, what does she do for herself?
I think that's still valid and it's still worth exploring, right? We move through these different seasons, but we accumulate these experiences. Things compound on the next, right? Or things that we've experienced before. And so if that's something that, she's realizing later down the line when her children are a bit older, they're grown, it's still worth, exploring and recognizing and validating and talking to someone about that, right? That's fair.
She may be 50, she may be 90. I mean, she's still a living, breathing being who feels this thing and may not be sure. And the reason I'm asking, I'm wondering to what extent we in society is willing to look at that person and, as you said, Dr. Walton, not just validating, but drawing alongside and supporting as opposed to what we may do. Oh, just get over it,
right. Baby was born 3 months ago.
Yeah.
You should have this down now.
Exactly. And we do that, right? We do that. What about the notion then that not just the age, but perhaps this isn't the first pregnancy, this is the second, this is the third, or more. Does it matter whether it's the first or the X pregnancy? If you're 31 or you're a first-time mother at 25. I mean, just curious.
I think it depends with having like multiple pregnancies or not being a first-time parent, right? The risk for postpartum depression can increase because that's an additional demand. It's additional stress. You have children that are in different stages and phases, and so trying to kind of navigating all of these different little individuals, right? That can be quite a load while still having to go through that, typical kind of newborn rite of passage, all of the sleeplessness and the exhaustion and recovery, and but mothers who experienced postpartum mental illness or perinatal mental illness with previous pregnancies are at increased risk in later pregnancies.
Does that then let me rephrase it directly. If a mother has it, does that increase the probability that her son and or daughter may also experience it with their births? So can it?
I think we had kind of touched on that. I kind of touched on that earlier, but then there is like that genetic predisposition, right? Not just even just how it's expressed or like how that impacts the relationship, but you have a genetic loading for, this to be something that becomes a part of your experience.
Okay. And then we talked about OCD, and I think with the father in particular. How is, again, just for perhaps my own edification and worth repeating, how does that translate? I think you said, postpartum OCD for the father. What does that look like, and how is that different from just regular OCD?
Yeah, so again, it's similar similar criteria and symptoms, but again, it's flavored around the baby. So that could be, intrusive thoughts or images about some kind of harm coming to the baby or doing something to harm your baby. And so a lot of times what we'll see is avoidance then, right? So there might be a fear of, going to sleep and not watching your baby while they sleep because fear that something will happen to them, right, while you're asleep, right? So then we could see, avoidance of going to sleep yourself, staying up, checking on the baby, just becoming very hypervigilant, right, compulsively. So it can look like that, or there are other, presentations of it as well, maybe around germs, like contamination, fear that, baby will become sick, and then kind of avoiding kind of leaving the house or letting anyone come around, or you could see compulsive, like kind of cleaning and sterilizing and hand washing beyond what is actually shown to be helpful or necessary.
So, in a sense, being, I guess some would say, overly protective, very protective of the child and the environment, making sure it's properly sanitized, making sure that, you've got all sort of safety measures in place. Now, will this be more for the father or the mother, or it could be almost the same in either?
It could be either.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure, what all kind of literature exists in terms of differences between the presentation between mother and father, but from my understanding, it can present in that way for both. And
we're talking more than just putting the little safety caps on outlets or the, soft things on edges and the stair railings. I mean, just things that in our minds might, mitigate against any foolish sort of mishap.
Sure.
You're talking about being, going outside in the playground and sanitizing everything, and but that sort of behavior.
Yeah, no, generally it becomes like clinically significant once it's starting to impair your ability to complete daily activities, or it's causing overwhelming distress. So definitely. Because I get people asking questions about that all the time. It's good to Purell if you've just been in public, but if you're spending hours doing it and it's impairing your ability to complete things, then it's an issue.
I mean, we've heard jokes. We probably made them ourselves. Your first child, the child is all in a bubble wrap. The third and fourth child, is that a sewage dump your child is playing in? Oh yeah, good for the immune system.
They love it.
We made those jokes, right? But that's sort of that healthier parent who recognizes that. The way the child is safe. That's okay to play outside. Sunshine is good, despite what they may have told us a couple of years ago. But that's what we're looking at. But then, what about that parent who is so, could I use the word obsessed? Then that a child is safe, that the air is purified. There's this inability to socialize. No, you can't come over because we don't know if you've been through the, that decontaminant. That becomes an issue for that parent, but potentially it could affect the psychological development, physical development, the social development of the child. If they're now isolated, if they grow up in this environment where they're overly protected, perhaps?
Well, potentially. I mean, I think it depends. It sounds like, parents that tend to be more anxious, like that can transfer onto the child, right? And that's modeling these kind of irrational fears, and it may lead to them not having the same kind of access to typical, opportunities to socialize and learn and play. But more so, I guess the concern that I would have is kind of like how mom or dad's, psychological distress impacts their relationship kind of with their child and their ability to parent.
Yeah. And they're functioning. I mean, if they're working, they're volunteering, their interaction with each other, with the community and whatever extent, could be so affected. And this could happen not with the first birth, but subsequent births.
Yeah.
I think it's even more surprising then.
Yeah.
I feel like it's never happened with the other two. But I think actually postpartum anxiety, is less talked about. I think Brooke Shields did a lot of public education around postpartum depression, but postpartum anxiety is actually more common. And so it's important to realize that there are other things that can come up as well. It's not just going to be depression, that actually the anxiety is very common afterwards.
And this is where I'm thinking that there's so much in our society that we can offer value. Again, as an employee and as a former employer, work needs to be done. You need your workers to do because your customers need to get their orders filled and what have you. But that working parent, that working mother, we treat about so casually, this work-life balance. really, what are we doing to help facilitate that? How are we drawing alongside that parent, not just as the doting grandparents or the partner, but as a community, helping to navigate, that whole new realm.
Well, and I think that's where a therapist can be helpful because we're not related to you, and we're there to support you and figure out what's right for you. Especially I know that there's such a large expat community on the island as well that don't have family around here, and that would be even more difficult. So whether it's them that don't have any support and trying to be there for them to help them sort through things and figure out how they're going to still have the family life and the networks that they want, or if it's someone with a lot of family that's now having to figure out of the 10 opinions that they have immediately available to them for everything. What are they going to do? It's helpful to have someone who's completely for you to go in and where you can share these irrational thoughts and things that we feel like we shouldn't, maybe things that we shouldn't be feeling or we shouldn't be having to deal with, or like I do have a husband that provides and 2 beautiful kids, and I shouldn't be depressed. There's a lot of shame that comes around it, and so that's where a therapist can be helpful to go in and open up about all of that and have someone there for you to normalize it and validate it, but then help you figure out how to move forward and what the forward is going to look like for you too.
I've started saying recently, I'm not moving forward, I'm moving in a positive direction, very consciously, because sometimes that's diagonal, that's sideways, that may be a step back and then shift to the left.
Boundaries are good too.
Yeah, but as you said, I'm thinking that mother who may have a good friend come over, very trusting, you feel comfortable, the child is healthy, and the mother goes and takes a long hot shower, soak in a bath or a nap or whatever, without feeling guilty. And sometimes you take that for granted that, what do you mean you haven't showered in months? No, I've bathed, but I haven't had the steam on, or I haven't had the cold water soak or whatever it is, because you feel, and people here now going, that's me. So don't feel guilty. Yeah. And we then draw alongside and make you feel supported, nurtured, validated. No, you tell me.
Groundbreaking ideas. Support each other.
So, boy.
I mean, I know that's come up a lot in our show, but social support really is the biggest protective factor for everything. Whether we're looking at mental illness, right? Whether it's postpartum or otherwise, and we've looked at even at criminal activities and all the kind of the deviant things as well. Social support really is the biggest protective factor. And the biggest, the most supportive part with any kind of intervention or treatment options as well. So.
Well, I think hoping that especially now, Dr. Walton, that there's a lot happening in our personal lives. There's a lot happening in our society. We're constantly bombarded with things as they happen anywhere. And sometimes we're confounded as to really what is happening. But you still want to welcome this new life into yours, whether it's your first or whether it's child number 10, and you want to give it
wow. Yeah, no, definitely. There's so many changes. I was just going to say that that talking with your OB-GYN about it, because it can be weird, and you might be listening to the show and be like, well, I kind of have some of those things. I don't know if I'm fully there. Talk to your OB-GYN about it. And what's nice with those kinds of referrals is that especially the providers that have made an effort, they may not know any therapists. Some of them may be well connected. But generally, I think most of the therapists on island, we tend to work together as well. So if someone calls me, and that's what's going on, I would make sure to mention. There's Dr. Walton, there's a few other people on island as well that specialize in that. Just like if you called me for something else that's maybe not in my direct skill set, that's something that I would do. And so that's where talking to them, but because you already have a relationship with them, you probably trust them and they know you. There's going to be a lot of different therapists, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different approaches to treatment as well. So that's where a referral from your OB-GYN or your GP can be helpful. If you already have a relationship with them, they know you and they can perhaps make a more helpful referral, because therapy does rely so much on the therapeutic relationship and you feeling that you can trust the person that you're seeing, and that you guys can work together to get to where you want to be.
And don't be ashamed. Don't be willing to ignore. Don't think you're the only person. And, what may be nothing insignificant, like anything that is sort of left unattended, that bread that is going bad, you leave it out, it's going to get moldy, right?
I was going to say as well, the mom groups can be really helpful too.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some listservs I know I'm on that are helpful. People put all kinds of things in there. But even on island, I know that's something that the pediatricians often recommend, because then it does help you figure out, is it normal for my child to do this? Because the kids are always doing weird things and new things, but it helps you figure out kind of where your child is at, and that in itself, hearing from, and it's one thing for the doctor, the therapist to be like, oh, that's normal, the pediatrician, oh, that's normal. But when you hear from 6 other moms that, their kids are all doing the same thing too, Johnny, Jackie, and Sarah all did that this week as well.
They're living it, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That can be helpful. Back to that social support,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Like those mom groups. The ones on Facebook, or there's a lot of pages now on social media, on Instagram specifically, that are board certified pediatricians and board certified OBGYNs and perinatal specialists, and so there are a lot of resources out there. Again, we have to be discerning about it, but there are ways to connect, even if it can be difficult to find ways to do that in our day-to-day life, even if it's kind of virtually. There's great resources online, like postpartum.net, and it's Postpartum Support International. They have a lot of virtual groups and blogs and things like that around postpartum mental health, right? And so there are resources available.
I think too often we believe we're the only one. We, for whatever reason, deny ourselves access to certain things. And here's a resource that not just locally and down the road, but globally, if we're willing to leverage what's before us.
Yeah, that isolation is a big part of the difficulty. Just thinking that we're by ourselves and everything, no one else is experiencing this, and sometimes there is that image out there that it's like, oh, I've met my baby and I fell in love and everything was perfect and I bounced back and I did and then but while you're up at 3 a.m. like wondering if you're the only person awake in the world, there are a lot of other mothers and parents out there doing the same thing. And so just if you're listening and that's something you're going through, just know that you're not alone in that challenge, and there are a lot of women that are there and other parents.
Unfollow the unhelpful Instagram pages of the moms looking like they're doing it all, because Instagram is not everything.
Hey, thank you for sharing. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you 3-4 o'clock in the morning, you got to get a child settled. Even thank God the child's health and everything is okay, but your body is going to be taking a toll, right? You're back to
exhausted.
Sunrise, and the other child is going to school or somewhere. You're going to be off to work or whatever it is that your activity takes you. We may be able to go for the longest time on reserves, right?
Yeah, and even going to work, not going to work. There's pressure on moms. You have to provide as well. You have to get back to work. There's pressure. But you've gone back to work. You don't care about your child. There's so many things to navigate.
Yeah.
And there's no right way to do it either. There's no right way to raise a child and no right decision. So I think that's important to know as well. You do the best you can for your child, and as the parent, you do know best, whether it's the biological parent or the one that's there to love them now.
If you take care of yourself, then by extension, you're going to be taking care of your child as well. What you eat, how you eat, and you sleep, and you're training, you're nurturing, you're conditioning to some extent that child's. Okay, be the parent.
You are the parent. So be the parent has a lot of other pushes on it as well. There's a lot of stress anyway. So yes, but you are the parent, and so trusting yourself and your instincts, even if you have 3 people tell you to do something one way, if it doesn't feel right to you, it's okay to make a different decision.
Yeah, man. So I remember one time my daughter went through a phase where there was a certain hour of the day when we liked Ovaltine. We would make it, and it worked well.
You would do
Ovaltine. We went downstairs and hot.
My son loves
wasn't
that too.
It wasn't Milo. It was just not hot chocolate. It was the sweetest thing, man. And it lasted for what it did, and I enjoyed every second.
So there's all the pressure to enjoy every moment as well. So that's all on my Instagrams full.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a break and live life too, and those little routines are so sweet.
Yeah.
And enjoy them when they come, but they will change too.
They're going to change, and
And that's okay.
Yeah, you need to be sensible.
Not every moment's enjoyable. Like when you're run down, you feel like you've been hit by a truck. If you're not enjoying that moment, that's okay.
This too shall pass.
It's good to acknowledge, like, okay, like maybe I'm running on like one cup of coffee and I've drank no water, haven't eaten anything, and I was up all night and I don't feel great. And so being able to honor what your needs are and try to prioritize that makes it a lot easier to then appreciate those moments and have those core memories with your family. So
well, I really appreciate you coming. I'm trusting that as people listen to recognize that there's nothing new under the sun. Okay, Rome may not have been built in a day, as my father always reminds me, but you're not alone. And the resources that this small place has, I think, exceed many jurisdictions. And to you, Dr. Walton and Dr. Borden, thanks very much. Hopefully our mothers in particular, but our fathers would appreciate that. People have been giving birth and raising children for a couple of days now. So
a little while.
Thanks for having me on.
And so Dr. Walton's available at the Wellness Center. She talked about FRC, which is 949-0006.
0006.
Yep. And Counseling Center offers free counseling to anyone in Cayman. That's 949-8789. If you are in distress or feeling overwhelmed, we also have the helpline that's available, which is now being rebranded as K-Mind, which is 1-800
534-MIND
6463, exactly, 534-MIND. Thank you. And always the emergency room at HSA or 911 in case of emergency. Any talk of suicide should always be taken seriously. This can be a symptom of postpartum depression, but it can be experienced by anyone at any time, and there is help available. So any talk of that should be taken seriously. So there's help available. All these resources are listed in different places, but I'll be up on my website as well, which is drbawden.com.
Well, I'm very grateful. I know that for me, sometimes I learn perhaps and recall much more easily when it's a little bit levity. But this was, a very sobering discussion, and I appreciate it. And I'm hoping that mothers in particular, but their fathers and supporting cast will be there for each other and not feel ashamed because you may have a moment of inadequacy or you may be feeling just overwhelmed. I'm sure the strongest amongst us have had times when we feel like the mountain was immovable, and then we were so encouraged when, wow, it's no longer the Sahara forest, it's now the Sahara desert. We've cut it all down. We can achieve if we work together, right? So thank you very much, Dr. Walton.
Thank you too.
All right, and Dr. Borden. And to our listeners, please be mindful that our health includes, our mental, physical, financial, so I say social as well as, spiritual. So thanks very much. All right, when we come back from the break, I know, and I think I know, but I'll know if I know when I know when I know. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we are introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new Boneless Hot Sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer. You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Hi, my AC just went out and I need someone to come fix it.
I'm sorry, we're closed.
Okay, what about tomorrow?
We're only open on Thursday. And we're fully booked.
Have anything next week?
No.
Okay, when can you send someone out?
The 22nd is open.
I'll take it.
Of December 2023.
With the best medical cover for your dollar, we're like an AC technician who isn't too busy for you. CG Brit-K. Good like that.
Do you know that conditions may change suddenly in an emergency and you may have to leave at a moment's notice? When a hurricane threatens, you should have a grab-and-go survival kit. This kit should include your personal identification and other vital documents, which should be sealed in a watertight pouch or container. For more tips and information, visit the Hazard Management Cayman Islands office or caymanprepared.ky. This hurricane tip is brought to you by Hazard Management Cayman Islands and Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And if you're seeing us online, whether it's any of the social media, FaceTube, brand, whatever it's called, it's all there. I welcome you to go on, our YouTube and our Facebook sites and to see the energy, the enthusiasm, the wonderfulness that is our community. Miss Ivania, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Hello, Cayman. How are you?
Always a pleasure to welcome you, and you bring along not just the joy, but that promise of what today looks like, with that hopeful expectation that tomorrow is even better.
Yes.
All right, so every year, and I can't believe it's been a year.
I know.
It's been a year already.
Yeah.
Always excited, always around this time of year. For those who are joining us, I know you got some good things in store. Yeah. So through you, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to tell them what we're doing, how we're going to do it, and who we're doing it with.
All right. Awesome. So hello, Cayman. It's Ivana Martinez here. I am the State Director for Cayman's International Girl. It is a youth development program. We've been around since 2015, and we do things like etiquette training, public speaking, interviewing skills, and a lot of community service. It's basically a pageant, but it's more than just a pageant, with all those components that I mentioned briefly a while ago. Today we're going to be doing our annual raffle prizes. We've been doing this for quite some years. And then we brought along some of our reigning queens. I will let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to go from there.
All right.
Hi, Cayman. I'm Jessie Douglas, Young Miss.
Miss Jessie?
Hi, everyone. I'm your junior teen Miss Mia Groves.
Good day, Cayman. My name is Hannah Parchment, and I am your 2023 International Miss.
And good afternoon. Hey, I got caught up in it too. What would I be?
Lord of mercy.
No, thank you for letting me laugh, because this is what I think life is about. To be able to see that no matter where we are in life, we're supported and nurtured by other people. Not only can we travel, not only can we experience, but we can have that sense of not just being inspired, but inspiring others to excel as well.
Yes.
And I think, Ms. Wanda, from what you've been doing for these last years that we've had a chance to partner with you, it's an attempt to be accountable. It's an attempt to exhibit a sense of responsibility.
Absolutely.
But it's a sense that as a community,
yes,
we must come together.
Yes, absolutely. And this annual raffle is one of my favorites because, first of all, there's so many different moving parts before we even get here. Like, firstly, I make sure that each contestant has the responsibility to go and source at least 2 prizes. So that way they know that they were responsible and they were a part of it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, what are we going to do? Paul? Yeah, we're going to take a quick break and then make a little shift. When we come back, we're going to do some raffles and drawings and stuff. And then we're going to taste the chocolate during the break. We'll tell you how it tasted. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
All right.
It's a 24-karat summer with Digicel. In honor of our first truly COVID-free summer, Digicel is giving away $24,000. Be one of 10 to win $2,400 this July. For a chance to win, all you have to do is switch to Digicel, activate a Prime bundle, or simply pay your bill on time. It's that easy. It takes 2 minutes to get $2,400 richer. Make the choice to win today and visit a Digicel store near you.
When a storm is approaching, be sure to not only stock up on drinking water, but also non-drinking water. That is, water for cleaning and washing. You can store non-drinking water in clean bathtubs or large, sterile containers. Visit the Water Authority's website, www.waterauthority.ky, or follow us on social media for more hurricane preparedness tips.
Freedom, Kim Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
All aboard the Pizza Boat! Cayman's newest pizzeria. Birthday parties, office luncheons, summer camps, game night. Whatever your occasion, bring the fun with Pizza Boat. And Cayman twist to pizza. Bringing fusion ingredients from all over the globe to give you locally inspired fresh pizzas all day, every day. What's more, now you can enjoy a boat-shaped pizza with toppings of your choice. It's Pizza Boat. Pizza Boat, now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road. Pick up or delivery 949-0000 or order online www.pizzaboat.ky. Pizza Boat. Experience the ultimate pizza voyage.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And if you're listening on the radio, because some of us know how radio is, thanks to Nurse Tipner. Some of us are very, very familiar with watching things. As they said, I saw you on the radio. Like, how do you hear me and see me? Well, Facebook, YouTube, we're there. And part of that allows us to do this drawing live so that we're not only adding greater intrigue and interest to our listeners, but we also can show people directly. So, Ms. Martinez, you have 5,000 prizes, I think it is.
Oh, no.
Not that many? All right.
No,
I exaggerated slightly.
So we have over 30 prizes, and what we're going to do is just get right into it, have each one of the queens pull 5 as we go along, and then I guess like the last couple, we'll leave it to you because those are the bigger grand prizes.
All right. So the last prizes will be the bigger prizes.
Yes.
Not like the first prize being the big. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well.
So without further ado, we're going to start. We have our little bag here, and Mia's going to shake it on up, and she's going to pull out 5, one at a time, of course, but 5 chances. So go ahead and raffle that up. We have about 30,000 tickets, 3,000 tickets that are in here.
I see you're born from me.
Yeah, exaggerating. 30,000. All right. The girls worked hard going out to different locations. So thank you, Cayman, for your support. I'm sure you saw us out there and you kept buying tickets, as you always do. Honestly, I think the Cayman Islands is the best place to fundraise. I think that people appreciate when you actually go out there and you see the girls offering something versus than just, asking. We're offering something as well. So you have a chance to win while you're supporting.
And well,
All right. This is the first one. Go
Our
ahead and call
first winner is Marley Shrims.
All right. So Miss Marley Shims has just won a $15 Book Nook certificate. This is the $15 Book Nook certificate. So I'm just writing it on here.
Mm-hmm. And Miss Mia is drawing it.
The second winner is Jules Miller.
All right. So Miss Jules Miller, you have just won a $25 Kirk Market gift certificate. This is for Kirk Market.
The third winner is Tanisha Chang.
All right, Miss Tanisha Chang, you are the winner of a $25 Tips and Toes.
The fourth winner is Trisha Anthony.
All right, Miss Trisha Anthony, you are the recipient of a $50 Mattress Gallery gift certificate. Congratulations and thank you for your support.
The next winner is Kevin Bryan.
Mr. Kevin Bryan, thank you so much. $50 gift certificate for Mattress Gallery. Thank you so much for your support and congratulations. All right, that's
Hannah.
5.
Yeah.
Let's move on. All right.
And now Miss Hannah.
Miss Hannah.
All right. I'll pick my name out. All right. Sean. It just has Sean.
All right.
Hey.
So, Mr. Sean, you are the recipient of a nail bar gift certificate. So, nail bar gift cert. Thank you.
Next winner is Ginny Hobday.
All right, Miss Jenny, you are a nail bar gift certificate recipient. Thank you so much.
Another one is Karina.
All right. Miss Karina, no last name, but we got the numbers, so that's what matters. You have received a ladies' watch. Ladies' watch.
And it's not like Cracker Chocolate box. I'm just being funny.
Right, the next prize is a ladies' watch. Go ahead.
Dean Ebanks.
Right, Mr. Dean Ebanks, thank you so much and congrats. You received a ladies' watch. So you can give that away to someone special in your life. Yeah.
One more.
All right.
Oh.
Was that 5? No, this is your last one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Charlene Richardson.
All right, Miss Charlene, you have won a bathtub neck pillow. A bathtub neck pillow. Thank you so much for your support and congratulations.
Miss Douglas,
All
you
right.
will draw now, Mom.
All right, so this drawing is for a bodywork candle. Bodywork candle.
Anna. Miss Anna.
Okay, Miss Anna. Thank you, Miss Jessie. This is a bodywork candle.
And this was a Tesla. That's good.
Peyton Green.
All right, Mr. Peyton Green, you receive a Taco Cantina gift certificate. Taco Cantina, $25. All right, this one is for Kirk Freeport, $25.
Can't read that.
Is that my handwriting?
No. I think it says Fridger.
Yeah.
For cruise.
We got a phone number. You won something.
You won it.
It's a handwritten lesson. The one I took earlier.
$25 Kirk Freeport. I cannot pronounce that name either.
Alyssa Powell.
Okay, Miss Alyssa, you have won a $25 Kirk Freeport gift certificate. And this one is a $25 Kamana Bay gift card.
Albus Amaya.
All right. Congratulations and thank you for your support. And that is $25 to Kamana Bay. Okay, we're going to pass it on.
You want me to draw?
Yes, sir. Please and thank you.
Please and thank you.
Yes. And you're going to do the next 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
All right.
So this one is a $25 Rubis gift certificate. Do you want to write the name on the back?
You want me to?
Yes.
All right. Miss Lois Kellerman.
So that is Rubis Gas.
No, Rubis Gas?
Mm-hmm. $25. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. And then I'll draw one more.
Mm-hmm. This is another $25 Rubis Gas gift cert.
Boy, this is another civil servant. They're going to accuse me of...
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no name, just kidding. Jermaine Turner.
All right, Mr. Jermaine, congratulations. $25 Rubis gift certificate.
Okay.
Now this next one is $35 to Nail RX.
Okay.
$35 to Nail RX.
Kyle.
All right, Mr. Kyle, congratulations.
So Nails RX?
Yes, $35 gift certificate.
I guess I should write this too, that handwritten lessons I took. So we're drawing it, if you're just joining us, right? We're drawing it as part of, our accountability. There are over 50,000 tickets and 5 million.
No, only over 3,000.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
Is that Andan Ramison? Something?
This is a $35
Looks
nail.
like Anson Robinson.
All right,
sounds close enough. So.
$35 nail gift cert to RX. Nail RX.
Okay. Nails RX?
Yes, sir. All right. This is your next one. Yeah.
Okay. And this one is Paula Carl. It's no, it's not.
This is a 1-hour studio session with FJ Beats.
Nice.
1-hour studio session with FJ Beats.
Riley Wells.
Congratulations, Miss Riley.
1-hour studio session.
Yes, with FJ Beats.
Okay.
All right. So, all right, over to, was it back to me now?
Yep.
Well, you can probably hold some soon. I'll get it back.
All right. There you go.
Because you're going to do the grand ones, right? I don't want to be doing that and then people accuse me. Let's shake this up some because y'all are being too nice.
Oh man, I had my, see, look, I got cuts on my face.
I'm digging deep.
Let me go deep. Okay.
And she goes.
Penton Green. Didn't we call this person already?
Yes. Peyton Green.
Peyton Green. Congratulations. You receive a 1-hour session for studio session with FJ Beats.
And props.
Oh, nice.
Studio
I know
session.
her.
FJ Beats, right?
Oh, you do? Okay.
And maybe, Miss Martinez, you let people know that, I mean, the tickets were relatively expensive, so some people may have bought, 100 tickets.
They were $5, so
Yeah.
people really were very supportive and buy-in. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Oh, this is Genesis. She has won. Did I say a session already? Yes, I did. So she has won Tatum Photography, 1 hour with Tatum Photography.
Very nice.
Photo. All right. Let's get another one going. What is that? Oh, Sean Lyon. Congratulations. You receive another 1 hour photo shoot with Tatum Photography. Tatum Photography. All right. Now we're going to go to Auto Spa. This one is for Auto Spa, and it is Craig Smith. Congratulations, Mr. Craig Smith. You received an Auto Spa gift certificate. Okay, then we have a Strike Zone gift certificate for Doneth Goddard. Doneth Goddard, thank you so much. Strike Zone gift certificate. Strike Zone. All right. Then we're going to go to Ragazzi, $50 at Ragazzi. Thank you so much, Ragazzi. They always sponsor a gift certificate to us, so we want to thank you so much for that. This is Sean Michael Morgan. Sean Michael Morgan, $50 to Ragazzi. All right, and now we have a $50 gift cert to Nail Bar, and then the last three I'm giving to you because those are our grand prizes. So this is the Nail Bar.
Ooh, no pressure.
Alan Ebanks, you received a Nail Bar gift certificate.
And it's only valid while they're open, okay?
So Nail Bar, congratulations. Thank you so much. The last three are going to go to you, sir. There you go. And the prizes are $100 to the nail room, $200 Cayman Airways gift cert. Ooh, throw those back in. And a 2-night staycation at the Kimpton Sea Fire.
All right.
So these are good prizes, good value for money. It was $5. Thank you so much.
So I'll draw one now.
Yes, please. $100 for Nail Bar.
And Mona, I would ask. So you're gonna ask Miss Douglas, but okay. Miss Martinez, you read it. Mona.
I think it says
Banks? No?
Maria Bordes. Maria Bordes, congratulations. $100 to the nail room. It did almost look like what you said, though.
Yeah. I mean, if I would put on my glasses. So. All right. Okay.
All right, this is the $200 Cayman Airways voucher.
And this person wrote and then crossed out and then wrote another name.
Oh, goodness.
So it's either Christmas, Christine, Christian, or
somebody.
Sorry.
All right. Christian. All right, Christian. Christ. Yeah, I think it's Christian.
At least the telephone number looks
legible, yes. So this is the $200 Cayman Airways gift cert.
Okay. So this is the last one, Mom?
Yes, this is the 2-night staycation at Kempton Seafire. This is the grand prize. And this one was actually donated by Mia.
Okay, so
Mia,
everybody can see it. Right? See, the name says Paulette Conley. This guy. Okay, so who is it? Who wants to make that? I can turn it over?
Oh, Lord of mercy.
And I thought I was really going to read it. Because of the M.
Oh.
Marjorie?
Okay.
I think this must be my cousin.
I really can't. Margarine, congratulations. You are the recipient of a 2-night staycation at Kempton Seafire. All right,
the phone number
guys.
begins with a 3. It has 6 other digits.
So thank you so much for listening. And whether or not you were tuned in, so you wouldn't even hear this, but we'll be calling you. We'll be getting you by emails, all the info that's on the tickets. We'll be able to contact you via those methods. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I must thank you and the young ladies in particular. You know, I've seen you out. They were always so well presented. And it's just amazing how, as we close out the discussion, we've been supportive, the sponsors, but also the community in purchasing. But you use these funds to do a lot of nice programs, including taking your young charges overseas.
Yes, sir. And that is exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be traveling on July the 14th to Orlando to represent the Cayman Islands for our competition, which starts on the 16th of July and it ends on the 21st of July. And I think I'll just have the girls give a little bit of their experience or their preparation in going, because that's why I brought them on. So please go ahead, girls. We can start with Jessie. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Glass? No?
You ready?
All right.
Okay, so if I ask you a question, will you answer it? Yep. Okay, what has been your best experience so far preparing for the pageant?
I would say my best experience so far is just hanging out with you guys. And because you really helped me a lot since I first started, because I was quite scared, to be honest, but everyone really helped me, especially Miss Ivana. She's really great. That's you.
All right, Mia, just tell us a little bit of something, or you want a question too? Jeez, ladies. Okay, why did you decide to enter the pageant?
I decided to enter the pageant because I did it before in 2016, and it was really fun meeting the different girls and traveling. So I decided to do it this year, and I'm actually very excited to travel again.
Okay. Miss Hannah, I'm going to put this one to you.
Oh, dear.
What advice would you say, or what would you tell someone who doesn't believe in pageantry?
One of the main important things I would tell somebody that didn't approve of pageantry or didn't believe in it would be that, pageantry, to me at least, it's not just about a woman's beauty. It's not about her showcasing her beauty, but it's more about her showcasing her intelligence and her personality. I know for me personally, I have a 5-year-old, and my husband actually didn't believe in pageants. So when I wanted to put her in it, he was very against it. He was like, no, she's not going to be in pageants. She's going to do karate. And I was like, okay, she can do that too. Actually, I think he wanted her to do wrestling, not karate. And he went to one of her school assemblies, and he was so taken back by how much she had grown just from being in the pageant. How long has she been in it? Like 2 years? Yeah. Just her second year or something? And he was so taken back by how much she had grown just from being in the pageant for 2 years, because she was the only 5-year-old in her school assembly that was able to speak properly and grab that microphone and just be so confident up on stage. And he came home and he was like, it's fantastic. I didn't realize how much effect this pageant had on people.
Yes.
Very positive, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's to you, Miss Ivana. It's not just you and the team, but the support cast and the appreciation. And we're happy to do this. Not that it only lends a semblance, as you've been trying hard, the accountability so people can see it firsthand.
Yes.
But the partnerships. And I want you to have a fantastic trip, to be safe. But Ms. Douglas, to all of you, you grow. You become more confident, more purposeful. And it just makes us that much more positive about what the future could look like.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Thanks very much, Ms. Vanna.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Well, next year, God's willing.
Same time, same place.
Same place. It'll be a Monday. I can pretty much it'll be by this time, so
yeah.
maybe I'll be here. Who knows? God's willing. I'll have the presence of mind. But thank you, honestly.
Thank you so much.
To
Thank you, Radio Cayman, for always allowing us to come, for your support. This is where we also do our speeches at the end of the year for the girls. So thank you so much, Radio Cayman.
Yeah, and I think as Ms. Marshman shared, that as we encourage our young ladies, not only are they confident in their school assembly, but they're also purposeful. They also have that self-esteem, that positive self-image. As they go, they hold their own, and you become great role models for your peers, but you also remind us for the future. So thanks.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, last year, my 5-year-old, she, I don't remember what she walked away with last year, but she was quite shy and timid, and this year she walked away with the Sapphire Queen, which is an amazing title as well. So,
right. Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to not just next year, but between now and then, whatever we can do.
Thank you so much.
All right. So, listeners, thanks for being a great part of our community. When we come back, we'll have some open line. I'll invite our engineer to come into the studio. He can showcase his new physique. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman. We've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. On June 29th, 100 Women Who Care held their second event of the year. Breast Cancer Foundation Cayman Islands won the main pot of $5,000 donated by the members. Cayman Islands Crisis Center and Plastic Free Cayman both left with $1,250 thanks to platinum sponsors Health City Cayman Islands and a donation of MC Vicky Wheaton. In total, the event raised $7,500. In international news, Turkey's president has said his country will support Sweden's bid to join NATO if the European Union opens membership talks for his country. He says he would state this demand at the NATO summit to Lithuania later this week. He adds that he has informed U.S. President Joe Biden of his intentions. Mr. Erdogan's comments come ahead of a meeting with Sweden's Prime Minister and NATO Secretary General in the Lithuanian capital. Turkey is a NATO member and so has a veto over any new country joining the group. It has previously expressed frustration at what it has seen as Stockholm's willingness to host Kurdish militants. Millions of people in the northeastern U.S. are under flood warnings, with intense thunderstorms expected to bring more dangerous conditions. At least one person died in New York State as floodwaters swept through streets and left drivers stranded. The woman in her 30s drowned on Sunday after she was swept away while trying to evacuate her Hudson Valley home. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
You know you've dreamed of that Mercedes, the smooth leather, the style, luxury that feels so good. Ooh la la. With the prestigious 2023 Mercedes-Benz GLA 200 up for grabs in this year's Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzorama fundraiser. This is your chance to make that dream come true. Tickets are $25 for one, 3 for $65, or 5 for $100. Benzorama fundraiser tickets are available with Lions Club members and various sales outlets. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzorama fundraiser supports numerous community initiatives, include sightseeing, Christmas delivery, toys, restoration, and social services.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And as we close out today's show, can you believe it already? It's just the 10th day of July into this year. So Monday. I trust in that despite what is transpiring in your lives, that you'll recognize, a lot has happened, can happen, and it doesn't always have to be so daunting that you become, overwhelmed. But when you do, there's support, and there's always an opportunity to act and look with this sense of hopeful expectation. So, what's on your mind as you consider what the summer will bring, with you battle the things that are on your table? Do you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you alone are the only solution, or do you know that you have support? Well, call and encourage, call and admonish, call and just share. 949-8037, 949-6990, WhatsApp 925-3261. You can message it, you can record a voice note and we'll play it, or you can call us and we'll listen as you share. Either way, we want to hear. Again, thanks to OC and to Kathy for filling in. And as I consider, future travels and vacation plans, I'm also mindful that nobody's promised tomorrow, and as much as we embrace today, we always have a sense that we must serve and sacrifice. We must celebrate and ensure that our contributions are not only positive and productive, but they are inspiring and nurturing. So share with us, because as we look at the changing face of our community, as we experience some of the things that we up until recent times would have never imagined would be transpiring in a society, are we willing to say publicly those things in which we share privately? Are we willing to hold those who are responsible for ineptness, incompetence, and inaction accountable? And are we willing to stand in the gap to ensure that there is, a sense of fairness and justice, and a level of, societal civility that should be the ethos shared by all of us? Or are we going to continue to ignore the obvious and bury our heads in the sand and pray that either it goes away or someone else's addresses it? Either way, where's your perspective? Let's hear from you. 949-8037, 949-6990. Toll free with that kind compliments of flow at 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, 949-6990, or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. I share with you that as we were able to look and listen at much, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. Let's take this call. Maybe there's something there. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to your namesake.
Hey, good afternoon, man. Good afternoon. I'm hoping that as you, sit and assemble yourself, sometimes your thoughts allow you to gaze upon the Bacchus Key and see how beautiful, those shimmering waves off the North Sun can be invigorating.
I swear you got a camera on me.
My friend, sometimes, we just can feel the positive energy of those who abide in the same space.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And it's actually started to rain down here in West.
The blessings from on high.
Yes, indeed. Enjoyed the show earlier that you had.
Thank you.
The mental health one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a great discussion. Learned a lot.
Likewise, man. Thank you for listening. Yes.
Yes, man. Enjoyed it immensely. And learned a lot. I'm calling to occupy your time since you don't have nobody else on, and I felt the need to express myself.
Thank you.
And so I hope it's open.
It is open line, and you can. I'm honored to have your company. Thank you for being so gracious with your time.
Thank you, man. I just it's a little different, and I hope it's useful. But a couple of things been bothering me a little bit, and it's to do with, and I'm trying to be careful with saying it only because I recognize the environment that we're in, that is, i.e., the multiple robberies and guys who seeming to wanting to take us over in that respect. And so I'm careful with this. But recently, well, it's been a long time now, but recently I've been, there's been things that hurt me in regards to making me feel like I'm in a police state. And it's, it's a little bothersome and frustrating, to be honest. And it's not, so let me give you an example. I do give you two examples. I kind of just like that we are putting speed bumps in every road, in every place. These huge speed bumps on every roadway. And while I can somewhat accept the roadway ones because, well, if they put them in a school zone or what have you, I just don't think that we have to do them every single place, particularly on main roads. Where you can just put a crosswalk and some flashing lights, and extend that thought to things like parking garages, or rather shopping centers. There's one shopping center I hate to go into because I swear it's destroying our wheels. We have 500,000 of these speed bumps in that one parking space, in that one shopping center. I know another shopping center took them all out, and man, it's a blessing. That's the one that used to be, the one that took them all out is a Strand. We used to have tons of them, and they took them all out when they redid the parking lot, and it's just awesome to be able to drive in there. But everywhere you go, there's these, I think what we're attempting to do, Dwayne, is to manage how people should operate within, these very confined areas. But give me a break. People have to be responsible, or they'll be held accountable if they damage somebody's car because they're driving silly going through there. Do we have to do that to the rest of us? Need to be, It sounds small. It sounds small, but it isn't. Let me extend that then into the public sort of dynamics. I was in the vehicle and licensing department, for example, on the weekend, and I was waiting to get my car relicensed. And I heard the gentleman next to me tell the lady that he couldn't drive his car forever because his seat, his what do you call them things now? The airbag wasn't working, and so they wouldn't pass it. And I couldn't help but to say to the lady after he left, because I didn't want to add to that man's frustration when I heard that he couldn't drive his car because of it. I was like, are we really not passing cars for things like that? Honestly, I heard the recall message the other day, and they're saying that they're not going to pass cars because of certain Toyotas having a recall. Okay, that I somewhat understand, because there could be a liability issue where somebody said, well, you passed it, and so they hold government accountable for that. And I understand government doing that. But really, things to do with airbags, when I was in the 80s driving around with my grandfather, there was not an airbag in sight. And, we drove in cars with that. But that to do with your personal safety, not to do with if the car is operating in a safe and effective manner. Does it have 4 great wheels? Is there oil leaking on it? Does the horn work? Do your back lights work? We're not passing cars because of things like, the airbag not working, or the light on showing that the airbag's not working. Well, how do you then justify that against cars that doesn't come with airbags? And you can buy a small car and they don't come with airbags. Little Kias and stuff, they don't come with airbags. Brand new cars. So how do you pass one person that doesn't have an airbag in their car, and you tell another person, I'm not going to pass you? So it's the little frustrating things I'm talking about today. It's the little things that just add stress unnecessarily, in my view. When you have to worry about all the other stuff. How much more do we add to people's plate? And somebody is making these decisions, and they really should just be thinking more broadly. I'm not talking about putting cars on the road that are not. I'm not talking about not putting speed bumps where they need to be, but for crying out loud, we just overkill on so many things. We're like trying to manage everybody's. You can't operate like that.
No more sense of self-responsibility, right?
Yeah, it has to be self-responsibility. Allow people to have a little sense of freedom to be able to at least think on their own. You're trying to manage how I'm going to drive through one of your shopping centers. Are you kidding me?
But it also speaks to the cultural ethos of, ensuring that, just for instance, in absence of speed bumps on roads or parking lots or what have you, when someone drives erratically, irresponsibly, negligently, carelessly, or otherwise, that the society would chastise, for want of a better word, that person, frown upon, so that a behavior isn't condoned, instead of turning a blind eye.
I agreed, and I didn't call you ever about it, but another example of overkill. They introduced these speed bumps, for example, on Northwest Point where I live, and they didn't have none for all my life. Then they introduced not one but two within hundreds of feet of each other. And it's like, that's a mean far way. You mean you couldn't have put one like you did in front of John Gray, which was just a regular crosswalk with flashing lights or whatever? You had to now raise it up, and it impacts people's cars. We don't know that, but I mean it does. It impacts everything.
Right.
And it's just frustrating. And
I hear you.
Things I don't mean to complain. I'm rather more so kind of hoping to challenge thought process, because I know the roads authority. Because I called them when they introduced the ones at Northwest Point, and his words to me were, "Well, we're planning on introducing them on many roadways." And I said, "Well, is traffic management all about stopping me? Isn't traffic management about trying to create free flow so that people are less frustrated? Isn't traffic management is not part of your consideration as well?" And so I see that they're really doing that. Like, I know they just introduced one on Hell Road, and I know you live in West Bay, so you probably experienced it already, right before Hell's gas station. I mean, I'm like, well.
But what's interesting is that almost 30 years ago now, and I asked about Mount Pleasant Road, a very densely populated community with a lot of elderly who used to traverse the little road going to the bakery, right? And if I could say this and hopefully offend some people so that they have a sense of sensibility, a lot of idiots were just speeding on the road, and instead of making a 90-degree turn with caution, they wanted to see if they could drift, right? But I was told by what was then the precursor to the NRA, we couldn't do that because that was a main road, right? But the elderly in that community, their needs and wishes probably weren't respected, but yet we could put it in some place that, quote unquote, is a more affluent area. Interesting, no?
I mean, it's very interesting, and that particular one that they just recently put down, I'm trying to think, it's not even in front of the school. It's like way down in the corner by, I don't know what we're trying to achieve. Again, I don't know if maybe the police is in consultation with the NRA, and they're trying to reduce that people are not able to run away from them. Well, I'm just trying to speculate because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, man.
So, anyway, bro.
I appreciate
it. Hope that, thanks for the show today. It was great. And I just shared my little thoughts about frustrating things. And have a great day, bro.
You too, my friend. I know we have a couple of calls. Mr. Carl, what are we doing? Taking the call? Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, sir. I knew it was you. I don't know how I knew. How are you doing?
Boy, I'm concerned about this intense heat, man.
Boy, it was so hot, right? And my friend said he thought he was. I won't repeat what he said. But it is, all jokes aside, a bit, as you said, very concerning with that intense heat.
Oh my God. We're living in really, what shall I say, unprecedented times, man. The situation is really eye-opening in the Cayman Islands. What's going on?
Unnerving.
The gentleman that was just on the phone talking about the speed bumps. I can sort of understand what he's saying. On the other hand, road courtesy seems to be out the door.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. For an example, I'll start off with the farmer's market. I was there the other day, parked, got what I needed to get, and then started to rush out.
Mm-hmm.
A guy came round the corner. I mean, he didn't care, apparently. So it's a good thing that I was cautious of what was happening. Or it would have been an accident. Then you can hear, well, you know, you're worse than he ran into you. You see this around the gas station. You see it around the grocery stores. People have no road courtesy. They think, well, it's me behind the wheel and you know, nobody else is allowed to stop me or say anything. When you look at the speed bumps again, there's some speed bumps up above me on Papagallo Road, probably 3 or 4. I said to one of the representatives in West Bay about 2 years ago, how come that you can have these speed bumps at Papagallo, a little farther up, but none in front of my apartments where it's like a corner? You have to really look sharp and be careful when you're driving out.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Is it some people have all the privileges and some have none? And again, I must say this, you know, I just hope that the roads authority would consider putting more speed bumps, especially into that Papagallo area, because people are just flying like it's a race course. Something needs to be done because people have no courtesy at all. They don't understand when you take somebody's life, what happens after you kill somebody. Then you're going to hear, well, they came out the road and they're the worst out. But come on, even in places like right now, I'm in A.L. Thompson hardware store. When I was coming in, there was a guy coming out. Why not give him a break? I wasn't giving like 50 cars a break. I was giving one guy a break. So here you go, a little road course, it goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. And then coming back to this thing about the heat. I don't know what anyone else is doing, but certainly I am trying to get trees around my place. I want it to look like a jungle. Because I'm telling you, Sterling, unbelievable the filtering that trees can do to that hot air. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to keep it any longer, but
always a pleasure, man.
What I want to say is this: here I'm talking about solar energy and these grids and all that, putting on your house top and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can make cellular phones. We can do all sorts of miraculous things. We can send a man on the moon, but we cannot find a way to have another surfacing on our streets, and that's the whole world I'm talking about, except putting this black pavement. If we had some other alternative that could be almost heat resistant, our temperatures would drop by 10 to 11 degrees. And I can prove it here. You know?
It's interesting to say that. Maybe that's something we need to consider. I know a number of companies and even 1 or 2 universities with their students have spearheaded some research and indicated that different coatings on not just buildings, but as you shared, on roads can reduce heat absorption and the like, and the radiation. But maybe like anything, we don't have the sufficient motivation and will. It's just a lot of lip service. So. But you're right, man. You're
Exactly. Sure. But anyway, I'm going to get off the phone, and it's so much a pleasure talking to you again today. And
I know, obviously.
I want to wish you all the best for the week, man. Take care now.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Thank you for that. And to that other caller, sometimes I know that you have to disconnect earlier than you want, but the phone lines are there. We got about 5 minutes or so left. We will take your calls. Quick short break, and then when we come back, we'll talk today.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Dwayne Porter will be taking appointments from July 9th through 15th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited, whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles. Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkiman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And we have time to take two final calls. Let's take the first. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, how have you been, man? Been a while.
Yes, I know. Dwayne, two things here. Too much noise in the road. I'm sitting in a cafe next to the road.
Well, at least you're not sitting in the road.
First, if you recently, I want to ask you if you recently go to North Side.
You know what? Normally I would answer that in the affirmative, but I have to ask you why you're asking because I may have been.
Really, we want to thank and appreciate the hard work Mr. J. Ebanks doing for Northside. There is new roads open. There is a new dock built in the Northside dock. There is a big area where asphalt in the other side of the road from the dock. There is a lot of achievement being done. I think Mr. Ebanks this term deliver his promises and more, and I would publicly thank Mr. J. Ebanks, the MLA for Northside, for the hard work he doing. There is a lot of roads being asphalt, a lot of new roads being open, a lot of work being done in Northside. We wait for many, many years for this hard work to be done. I would publicly thank him. The second thing,
we just lost you. The second thing, but it went down low. So go ahead.
Yeah.
There you go.
The most important thing,
We lost you again.
About it.
Yo.
No, you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dwayne, the Premier did answer my call and change the Minister for Transport, and he now put Mr. J. Ebanks as a Minister of Transport or responsible about the transport issue.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that Mr. Ebanks did a solution for the problem of public bus transport. The behavior of some Jamaicans drivers is unrespectable. They are have no manners, no behavior. They fly in Jamaican flag in the buses. This is not Jamaica. This is Cayman Island. Respect the country you're eating food from.
Mm-hmm.
Fly the Cayman flag. You are in Cayman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you see, Dwayne, they have no manners and no behavior. One, he writes in the whole Bible in the glass. People can't see nothing from the glass outside or inside, who is sitting, what is happening inside. He writes the whole Bible. It is not a church moving. So this is the bus system needs a fix. Needs fix.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's what I want to say. And the behavior, immigration need to get to stop giving permits to bad Jamaican drivers driving public bus, have no manners and no behavior.
I thank you for always sharing your perspective, man. Enjoy your afternoon. Be safe, all right? Be well.
All right.
All right, take care, man. Perhaps one final call. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Mr. Sterling, good evening.
Hey, how are you today?
You taking too much vacation, not carrying me with you. I mean, all I can do carry suitcase here,
Well, I'm happy for those who want to help me back water, but I tell you what, if you're coming with me, you got to bring your A game, So I got plans to go again. I'll make you know the day before.
Okay. When you get on a plane, you can call me too.
Well, sometimes it's a plane, sometimes it's a boat, and other times it's just a bicycle.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sterling, good evening again.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful day. Today we got some nice breeze, although it is still hot, but Mr. Sterling, you only got enough time for me today, but I just want to break this.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Sterling, you born and raised in Cayman, I think.
Oh, no.
And
definitely.
You
definitely
can see the changes in this island. Cayman Islands have a lot of issues, and I don't know how it's going to be solved because the government can't solve all of these things. It takes unity together to solve all this problem. We have people here in this island, sad to say because I love everybody that's not supposed to be here. Caymanians went away all over the world to work, and they respected where they live. And they came back and they had good friends up until they passed away because they respect where they were working and making a living. But Cayman have a lot of issues. The police department, we have a lot of issues there. We also have a lot of problems in the island itself. We don't have people to stand up anymore. We don't have politicians stand up anymore and saying wrong is wrong, and they will die. They will go under the ground saying it's wrong. We have a lot of issues, and we need to get solved, Mr. Sterling. And it ain't going to take the police force. It's going to take the community, the whole island. I just been to the airport lately, and I only saw about 4 Caymanians. And when I say Caymanians, I'm sorry, but I mean people like yourself and me that is born here. Our parents was from here. That's why I call it Caymanian. Because I repeated this already many times on your show. If you go to Jamaica, you go to United States, and somebody else is working that is not from the United States, most of them have the badge, such and such a name of the person, and they got Jamaica. I remember I went to a hotel sometime back in Jamaica, and when I got in there, the reception, she had her pin and her name, and she said, Guyana. I saw another one said, Jamaica. You know, they identify themselves, and they don't hide where they're from. I went in a store the other day, and I couldn't understand the language. In my own country, a British island, an English-speaking island, and I could not understand the language. So who can we blame for that? I was on a plane lately, 2 weeks ago, and Mr. Sterling, people in Cayman can't get no work. And I see these people come in with their work permit because I had to assist some of them filling out their custom form and what have you. I had to assist 3 of them, and they got their work permit. Now you tell me, Mr. Sterling, is this right? And I got so much ambition I can't get a job. I mean Caymanian people, I'm not talking about me. But I'm not a Caymanian, Mr. Sterling. So, I mean, we got to look after our people first. And it's not here. So I was there on the flight, and I helped them fill out their form, and they show me who they're going to work for, and they got their permit, 3 months permit with them. We need to talk another day about Mr. Sterling, but your time is up, and I know you're hungry. It's chocolate, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Chocolate too, but you have a good day. But I won't bring that subject up again tomorrow. I won't continue with this because it needs to be addressed, Mr. Sterling. The people, the Caymanian people, are hurting. They don't have no work. I know some has been out of work for 1 year, and people coming into the country with work permit.
Well, you bring it up tomorrow. Broach it as often as you wish, and let's see if we can have some meaningful discussions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
And you as well. And you as well. Just close and share this. One of our listeners' message says, "Why won't I read it as it's sent? Why won't the government clean house and clean house good? Get rid of all the bad apple." As the caller shared, solutions need to be found. The question is, are we willing to offer up and stand in the gap? Many have said that the society is sufficiently small enough that the problems are identifiable, the solutions are to hand. Just have to have the will to do what needs to be done. I believe that this is perhaps one of the best places, and for some of us we would say the best. The question is, are we willing to work to make it better? Are we willing to work together, to unite, to ensure that our collective efforts are not just, for today, but offers a sense of hope for tomorrow? But how can a man consider, all the things to come if today he's struggling with putting food on the table, a roof over his head, and providing for his children? And when I say a man, I just don't mean the MAN. The question is, though, when we talk, are we willing to act? And when we act, are we willing to act decisive with a sense of responsibility, a sense of respect, a sense of humility, and a sense of integrity? And as we look at what's transpiring in society, we'll have to question, to what extent are we complicit? How are we willing to let those who wield power, whether it's through the might of the check or the pen, simply because they occupy a position or a particular pay scale, that they believe that they can act with impunity? And when, as Burke shares, good men do nothing, can you expect anything but evil to prevail? It is indeed a great place, and whether you call Caymanian because you go back generations like many of us, or you've only just recently watching the ink dry on your paper, if you love this place, if this is where your heart is, if this is where you want to see a sense of safety and security, a sense of stability and civility, then we all call, just like we unite in our various sort of spaces and serve our communities. We need to unify as a people to ensure that there is indeed a concerted effort to ensure that we have a space that is safe, that people who act in the egregious manner in which we've seen recently aren't, going to be able to just continue no matter. Much more to say, much more to be done. It's just a question, are we willing? Well, tomorrow's another day. We invite you to come back for Talk Today and be a part of, what is going to be a society with great promise and potential, because we have people who have the courage, who have the soberness of mind, and who have the willingness of heart to do what needs to be done, because it's right, it's just, and it's now. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Digicel, Cayman